Travel Tidbits podcast, hosted by the agents of Pineapple Escapes. Join us as we discuss the latest in travel news, destinations, and tips for the savvy traveler. After all, travel makes life sweeter. I'm Jamie Weidel, travel agent and owner of Pineapple Escapes, and you're listening to the Travel Tidbits podcast. Today, I'm joined by my son, Bo, and we will be discussing our VIP tour experience at Universal Studios in Hollywood. So, Bo has joined me for two other podcasts. This is his third one with me. And we've also talked about Disneyland and Disney California Adventure, which are all things that we hit on our mother-son trip to California. But today we're going to focus on our VIP tour at Universal Studios Hollywood. And this was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed the whole day. And the best part about the tour was basically everything was included. There wasn't anything we had to worry about. Our guide made sure we got to the rides easily. There wasn't a lot of issue there. So when we got there, we just had to head to the VIP check-in area, and then they escorted us up to a room where there was a breakfast laid out and everything was set for us. And so we had some time to have a quick breakfast. There was coffee, juices, all kinds of different food items. And so we kind of were able to relax. Bo and I sat outside and we were able to watch the crowds start to come in for the day as everyone was let into the park. So that was really entertaining to watch. And, you know, Bo loves food. So I'll let Bo talk a little bit about what he had for breakfast that morning.
So at the start of the line, there's sandwiches. I had a ham and a turkey little sandwich.
Like a croissant. Yeah.
And then I had a blueberry muffin and some ice water and other things.
Other things. There was also fresh fruit, oatmeal, and they had a little bit of everything. There were protein boxes for individuals who might have been doing keto, lots of different options. So that was really nice. It was a good way to start our day. We were there probably half an hour before our tour, so we were able to relax and sit outside. And then our guide was Daniel, and he met up with us and introduced himself. He was super nice, very personable, easy to talk to, and he started us off on the day. So our first ride of the day was Secret Life of Pets. Bo, you want to talk a little bit about that ride and what you thought?
I thought it was a good ride for the type of ride that it is. It's one of the rides that's a story. It's very, how do you say it?
It's a slow ride. It would be perfect. A slow moving, dark ride, like where you're seeing the theme of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the unique thing about the Secret Life of Pets ride is that it's not one that is at Universal Orlando. And so Bo and I obviously feel like we know Universal Orlando pretty well. And so it was kind of a treat for us to get to do something that was completely different and that is only at Universal Studios Hollywood and isn't at Universal Orlando. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's also the newest ride there.
It is. It's the newest one. So I think that was part of why we were on it very first run of the day, just to kind of get some of those VIP tour guides through that so that the line wouldn't get backed up later in the day. So then the highlight, I think, of the day and of Universal Studios Hollywood overall is the studio tour. So the big difference between Universal Studios Hollywood and Universal Orlando is Universal Orlando, the two parks, Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, are over 400 acres combined. At Universal Studios Hollywood, the whole area is about 400 acres, but over 300 of those acres are devoted to the actual movie studio where they still do film, movies, TV shows, etc. So that was a really neat and different part of the overall experience, I thought. And we had a private studio tour. So our VIP guide was able to let us get out along the path and walk through some of the sets. So that was really neat. Bo, what were your thoughts on the studio tour?
I thought that I didn't know where they made movies. I thought everything was on location. No, it's not. One of the big sets they have there, and the oldest, is I think they call it the 6 Point. It's the Wild West set. And then they've got the Good Place set. They've got It's the doors from Pirates of the Caribbean when they go in and Will Turner's there. I think that's so. The two attractions that were down in there were Fast and Furious, and I think it was 9, and King Kong. And those are the same attractions as at Universal, but they're just little hallways that they have the rides positioned in. It's not the full get on the actual buggy. You're on the same thing the entire time. There was also the earthquake ride, which I think that was my favorite.
Yeah. So there are 3 like interactive parts of the studio tour. So like Bo mentioned, there's the Fast and the Furious and King Kong, which are just like the actual experience part is exactly what we've experienced at Universal Orlando, but Universal Orlando has the queue and like the other parts of the ride to make it a full ride experience. This is just like part of the studio tour. So it's just like a piece of it. So it's interesting how that they did that. That was something that I really didn't expect and wasn't anticipating. And then the earthquake part that he's discussing is that part of the studio tour where like the water floods and you get to feel the earthquake. That was really neat too. Of all the scenes, I thought the sets that we walked through, I thought the one from War of the Worlds with the plane, I thought that one was really neat. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
In the movie, I mean, I've never watched it before, but a plane supposedly crashes into a suburban neighborhood in New Jersey. And they got this massive Boeing 747. Of course, they had to scratch out Boeing because Boeing doesn't want to be associated. But they had the plane, and it was definitely a torn up plane.
Yeah, I have a picture of Bo in front of that I think it was just really neat for us to see. I think they did a really neat job on that whole set and how it's set up. So that was really neat for us to see. But I do think the studio tour is by far the highlight of Universal Studios Hollywood and the VIP tour because being able to get off the tram, see the sets, and have a VIP guide to ask questions, it was really neat. If you're really into movies, you will love that. Bo and I hadn't actually seen many of the movies that they talked about. That's not really, I mean, we're big Harry Potter fans, but the rest of it wasn't really our thing. So after the studio tour, Bo rode the Simpsons ride with the rest of our group. I did not ride that because I get motion sickness, and that one's tough for that. But then we had lunch, and lunch was really good. It was also buffet style. And I think they had really good desserts too, which is always my thing. But they also had characters walking through. We were all masked, obviously, because we were still in the pandemic now. But to be able to see the characters, they had Doc Brown from Back to the Future and then Lucy from I Love Lucy both walked through while we were in there. Bo, talk a little bit about your lunch and what you ate.
So the restaurant is based off, what movie is it from 2012? Les Miserables? I don't know.
Les Mis, yes.
I can't say it. Anyway, dessert. I'm just going to skip straight to desserts because holy God. So, I mean, I love cheesecake and they had very good cheesecake. Mom had what was it, the shark cake that she wanted? And
Yeah.
I thought that was the shark cake and I didn't want it. There's the shark cake. There was chocolate chip cookies on a heated skillet and I almost burnt myself on that. That was fun.
I thought it was neat too. They had like brioche and the ice cream brioche sandwiches that you could get. Like, seriously, this was just the desserts. Like, the main food was really good too, but we kind of got stuck on the
desserts.
We remember the desserts. But the shark cake he's talking about, it was based on Jaws. And so it was like a vanilla cake, and then it had like probably a strawberry or cherry. I can't remember. It was a red filling, and then it had like a blue whipped cream on top, and then they had like a chocolate shark fin. It was super cute. But they did a really nice job making that good food and make it feel special. And it was a nice break to kind of break up our day. So then our afternoon, we then went to the Waterworld show, which was really neat. That was also a movie we hadn't seen. And actually, our VIP guide said we don't need to see it, that the show there is better than the actual movie. But that was neat to see, and they had some really neat effects in it. And then we went to Hogsmeade. So having been to Universal Orlando many times, Hogsmeade is very, very similar to Hogsmeade in Universal Orlando, so we kind of knew what to expect there. And there are other episodes where we've talked about that more. You can check out our Tidbits episodes about Universal for Harry Potter nerds. But that was really neat. And then we went to the lower lot. So the interesting thing about how Universal Hollywood is set up is that there is an upper lot and a lower lot. And it's kind of on a hill. So was it 4 escalators, 5 escalators?
It was 5 different massive, I don't know how wide, a few meters wide, 2 escalators going up and 2 escalators going down, and a staircase in the middle.
Yeah, to separate the upper and the lower lot. And like the escalators were a ride in and of themselves, I think. But when we got down to the lower lot has the Transformers ride, it has the Mummy, and it has Jurassic World. So Transformers is exactly the same as Universal Orlando.
Exactly.
Bo rode that. I did not because of motion sickness. Then we both rode the Mummy. The Mummy is completely different. I mean, it's still Mummy themed, but it's not anything.
It's definitely different. They don't have, I mean, if you've seen the one at Universal Studios Orlando, they've got the guy in the red cap. He's not in there.
The fire,
there's
wasn't
no
there.
fire on the ceiling. There's no fire basically anywhere. I mean, it looked like there's places where there was supposed to be fire. It wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was definitely very different. So that was interesting for us to compare the two. I probably like Universal Orlando's Mummy better personally, but this was neat to experience. And then we also rode the Jurassic World ride. This is very similar to what is at Islands of Adventure in Universal Orlando,
but it's much better.
But it's actually much better. They recently rethemed it, and I think the part right before the drop is actually much better at Universal Hollywood versus Universal Orlando.
It's also got the backdrop of the waterfall for the picture when you come down.
Yes. One of the nice things about the VIP tour was they also included ponchos, so we didn't end up getting soaked. So that was a nice perk. Our shoes were a little wet, but otherwise we were good. That lower lot is also where they're going to be adding the new Super Nintendo area. We don't have a date yet for when that will be opening, but we did see the sign and where they're building it and some of the construction work. So that was really neat to see, and we will definitely be going back once that opens. So that was then the end of our VIP tour. But part of the VIP tour is also that we were able to have express pass for the rest of the day. We were actually exhausted by this point. We had flown in the night before, so this was our first full day, and we were tired. So we ended up just doing the Kung Fu Panda show. This is very similar to the Shrek show that is at Universal Orlando, but a little bit different. And then we saw the Animal Actor show, and by then we were tired and ready to go. But we had experienced all of the rides at Universal Studios Hollywood except the Minions ride. And that's one that is exactly like it is at Universal Orlando. So we didn't feel like we were missing out since we've done that in Orlando before. So we were able to experience all of the parks. We didn't have to wait in lines. We had the VIP tour. We had our breakfast and lunch included. And it really felt like it was totally worth it. It was a great day. We had a lot of fun. Any other tidbits or thoughts you want to share there, Bo?
I just think that since the Minion ride is the same, just if you're motion sick, don't go on it. It'll kill your stomach.
Yeah, so Bo was sensitive to the fact I do get motion sick. So does his sister Anna. So he did go on Simpsons and Transformers with our group without me. But then when we were done, he didn't want to do Minions on his own without me since he knew it wasn't. There is like an area in the front where you can sit that doesn't move, and I have done it that way. And that's fine for me, but there's just something about the movement on that one that doesn't make me feel the best. So he was sensitive to that, which was nice. But otherwise, we did really well. It was a really fun day. We really enjoyed ourselves. It was hot. It was really warm that day, but it doesn't have the humidity that we get here in Illinois or in Orlando. So that was nice. But overall, I would say it was a successful first day of our mother-son trip, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would definitely say.
He would definitely say. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing about our VIP experience at Universal Studios Hollywood. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we'd love for you to click over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review to help our podcast reach more travelers. We'd love to help you plan a perfect trip to Universal Studios Hollywood. You can email all of our Pineapple Escapes agents at info@pineappleescapes.com to get started. Bye, guys. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode of the Travel Tidbits podcast hosted by Pineapple Escapes. Travel makes life sweeter. Let the experts help you plan a vacation with lasting memories. We'd love to help you plan your next vacation and have you join our community. You can find us on the web at www.pineappleescapes.com and on Facebook and Instagram at Pineapple Escapes.